Welcome to the Fit Dads Podcast. I'm Brad Thompson. I'm joined by Ryan Dutton from R5 Fitness, as always. And we're tackling something today, Ryan, that's hiding in plain sight. And the male body image crisis didn't start on Instagram, contrary to what many people think. It started when appearance quietly became more valuable than character, confidence, or competence. As the dad of a young boy, I'm well aware how physiques have been marketed before purpose, learning early skills that size, leanness, and visibility doesn't equal worth. And today we'll hopefully explore how bodybuilding has moved from a niche art to mainstream ideal, how steroids and bigorexia followed in that pursuit, and a special mention for superheroes, action films, and how social media has also played its part in this male body image crisis. And I want to ask a quite an uncomfortable question today, Ryan, which is what happens to men when looking strong matters more than being well?
Good question.
Yeah.
What happens to men?
Well, before we dive into it, mate, you up for a dad joke?
Hit me up, mate, always.
Thought we'd lighten the load before we go all serious with it. Ryan, 3 golf clubs walk into a bar. First one says, "Tequila, please, barman." Second club says, "Beer, please, sir." Barman turns to the third and says, "What about you, mate?" Says, "Nothing for me, thanks, I'm the driver."
Nice. Very on topic this week because I just done a round of golf. My first one in about 6 months.
I spied him downstairs, mate.
Did you really? Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm having that one this week.
Yeah, clubs came out the shed for a brief appearance.
Love that. But no, I mean, this episode today, mate, is inspired by a guy called Cole Hastings, whose work I came across. Very philosophical dude, didn't he? I sent you the YouTube, the YouTube link. And yeah, it really got me thinking because anyone who is a male in the teens, the 20s, 30s, maybe even the 40s, they've probably seen this shift in how males see what the ideal is. You know, I know women have gone through this in the past with things like heroin chic and, you know, strong is the new skinny and all that sort of stuff. It seems to be a bit of a cultural phenomenon right now, which I suppose my first question to you, mate, is when I say the male body image crisis, what do you think of?
Men not feeling adequate enough. I think this topic has been a bit of a slow creeper for many years, hasn't it? It's not come on all of a sudden. It's kind of come slowly over time. It's men feeling like they're not muscular enough, not lean enough, not tall enough, broad enough, defined enough, not alpha enough. I think most young men navigate their way through their teens and 20s and they have an inbuilt desire to be more masculine. I think I did. I think when I was in my early 20s and teens, I wanted to look up and imitate men who were maybe more respected in society. We all had our role models, whether that was public figures, fictional heroes, actors, musicians, sportsmen. As young men, we idolise these people a little bit. I think I've spoken openly before about my fascination with LL Cool J and just seeing him in one of the muscle building magazines that I used to read in the early 2000s and his physique. And I look at this guy thinking, he's got everything. He's got banging music, which I really like. He's into his bodybuilding. Look at his physique. He's built like a Greek god. He was just about to go into like movies and series and television. And I remember looking at his physique and thinking, I would love a physique like that one day. And I'm actually really willing to put in the hard work and graft it takes to get there. I had a self-built confidence in myself that I knew how to work hard because I'd done that through football. I wasn't shy of physical endeavours and being able to push myself physically. And I kind of made a bit of a promise to myself when I saw LL Cool J's physique of like, if it takes me my whole lifetime, I'm going to look like that guy one day. I want to look as muscular as him. I want to perform as well as him. I want to be as strong as him. And then obviously other idols came along, things like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I always thought even he was on a little bit too much of a bigger side. And even before my knowledge of anabolic steroids and all the things involved in bodybuilding, I did always question whether I had the genetics to look that big, that big. And I'd much favoured more the athletic, like the big athletic physiques.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of did. For the next 20 years, I dedicated myself to understanding my body, seeing how far I could push it, but really enjoying the process. Definitely along the way having some pressures, but probably more so put on by myself rather than society. Whereas I think today, societal pressures are a little bit higher. Back when I was in my teenage years and maybe early 20s, there was no expectation for young men, especially, to look a certain way. Whereas nowadays, and we're never going to go this episode without mentioning social media, are we? It's everywhere online. You're getting guys who are in their late teens who look like absolute monsters. And so you're exposed to these guys who are achieving things from a really, really young age. A lot of them really promoting the use of anabolic steroids and how good they are and how much confidence they've given them. And it's almost like a bit of a movement online of guys jumping on gear now and documenting their journey and getting lots of attention from it. It's very pulling. That wasn't a thing when I was a kid. That same societal pressure wasn't there. So the landscape's changed a lot since I was young.
From start to finish, and when you started speaking, you've taken us on that journey of where you started, where you aspired to be, compared to maybe what people see and do right now, where maybe was a little bit cloak and dagger, like you said about Arnie then, when bodybuilding became mainstream, compared to now when people are well aware what they're doing to their body and they do it anyway. So we will take the listeners through that journey today as well, but I feel like it might be an internal male drive as well, to emulate, to look for examples. I mean, I certainly did. I love my dad to bits. I used to look at what he did and, how disciplined he was, how strong he was. Even though he had a physical job, he was still training in the gym. And I remember just thinking, like, oh, I'd love to be like him one day. Yeah. Like he was tall, he were fairly charming. He was someone who just got along with everyone. And I'm like, yeah, he knows who he is. And I always looked up to my dad for that. And I feel like you have to be aware who your role models are in society. And I mean, you mentioned there about LL Cool J. Where do you think he'd marry up now in today's society? Do you think many people look at LL Cool J and go, yeah, that'd be great? Or do you think they're more influenced by today's society?
Do you know what? That's a fantastic question. And when I brought this up a good few months ago on the first podcast that we talked about inspirations and who we looked up to as kids and who were kind of the key role models, I actually went back after the episode and tried to find that same magazine. And I did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay.
I found that same magazine on that same cover that he was on. And I had to kind of have a little bit of a trip down memory lane. I was like, I remember him being a lot bigger than that. And so I looked at this physique and I was like, I recognise that cover, that shot, and I recognise the background. That was definitely the one, but I'm sure when I looked at it when I was a kid, he was bigger than that. And then I looked around at some of the covers that he was on and I couldn't find it, but I realised what happened was, when I was a lot younger and a lot smaller, a lot less muscle mass, scrawny little but beanpole teenager, that kind of physique was like a Greek god to me. It was so much more muscle mass than I had and something I aspired to have. And then you kind of get to the point where you surpass that and you go past that. And I think with what we see on social media nowadays, with the average muscle mass of guys online in the fitness space, is so much more, isn't it, than what it used to be. That I think my perception has changed over time, where the goalposts have changed.
Yeah.
And it was quite a funny moment where I looked back and I thought, that's just a good, in shape, athletic physique nowadays. Yeah. It was really in proportion. But that's really indicative of everything. Like one of the videos that you mentioned a second ago, what's he called?
Cole Hastings.
Cole Hastings. He brought up superheroes and how they've changed over time, and how Brad Pitt in the movie
Fight
Club, that gets referenced so much by guys maybe a little bit older than us, our generation, a little bit older, as being like the ideal male physique. But if you look back on that physique, in today's world, he almost looks like a bit of a heroin addict. He's super, super lean, super cut, got a little bit of muscle mass, but it's got that heroin chic around it. Yeah. Not a lot of muscle mass, always just super defined. I think that's what was more popular back then amongst men and women, is being super ripped. Now it's got to the point where it's super jacked.
Yeah, it's mass.
And leanness. That's
Rather
what's
than chiseled.
And if you look at the superheroes and how they've evolved over time, from Superman to Batman, they've all got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you look at movie stars like The Rock, who brought this kind of really obscene physique to the table.
Yeah.
And this is, again, in Hollywood, this cloak and dagger conversation around who's on steroids and who's not. And it's funny when I talk to people who love The Rock and are very unaware of the fitness industry, and they're like, no, it's just The Rock, that's just the way he is. And you're like, look, that guy's been banging gear for a long time. Long time. All those superheroes you see in those movies, look at how they looked 6 months before that movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they looked in the movie. I've been training 20 years and I never got those results that quick. So much going on there, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's very obvious to the guys who are in the know about who's on gear and who's not. But it's just become the norm, unfortunately. And that's why you're getting now teenagers adopting to it more. They want those results quicker, faster. Less people in the mindset that I was in 20 years ago, where I was like, I'm willing to dedicate my life to this to get to where I want to be. And it probably will take that. I remember thinking, like, I remember being like 13, 14, 15 years old and thinking it might take me 20 years to my mid-30s to look like these guys. But I'm willing to do it. If it takes, I'm obsessed with it. I love training. I love everything about it. I'm all in on this. I'm not after a quick fix. And I think I understood the time frame because I was reading a lot of bodybuilding magazines. Yeah. And in one of the bodybuilding magazines, it was saying that all the guys who won the Olympia were between 30 and 35. No one in the 20s ever won it. And the reason is because it took a while to get that quality of muscle tissue on the body and to shape and to grow. And even though they were taking a lot of anabolic steroids, even at that pinnacle level, it took time for that muscle mass to mature and develop. And so I had this time frame of like 20 years in my mind, right, get to like mid-30s. And it's obviously funny over time how your mindset changes and you realise I definitely don't want to be like bodybuilder style, but you get to a level of muscle mass that's right for you. And I feel like I hit that maybe a few years ago, and I've been in this maintenance phase now, and where I'm pretty happy, and I regret nothing. I was obsessed, completely obsessed. There's no doubt about that. But I was never swayed, I don't think, by the steroids. Have you ever been tempted and have ever been offered it, ever been in situations where it was the norm around anabolic steroids?
Do you know what? I've never actually told this story, but day one of me stepping into a gym.
Day one,
I went to...
Name and shame the gym.
I nearly said it then. I nearly said it. So that I think I've mentioned it in a different podcast, but the first gym I ever went into, I went in with a martial arts mate of mine. We were both 16. And we were just lugging weights around, just like young lads do. And this guy came up to us and he went, no, you want to be doing this instead. Quite blunt, showed us roughly some things to do.
Yeah.
He said, look, lads, if you want to take this seriously, come and see me. And I was like, why? Because I was just that smart ass kid. And he said, well, I'll sort you out. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. Are you going to write as a training plan? And he's like, no, I'll give you something better. And my mate was just like, you need to shut up now, Brad. I think you know what he's saying. I'm like, right, okay. And now we're at 16. And do you know, if we were young, we wasn't that impressionable. If I'm honest, we sort of knew what we were doing in there.
You've got to name the gym. Is the gym still going today?
Yes, which is why I can't say it.
I've got two gyms in my mind.
Please don't guess.
That have been going that long.
Please don't guess.
But I won't say them out loud.
But yeah, and that was the first experience, and for me, it probably... I remember it hit quite hard because that world was new to me. Like you mentioned about being obsessed with that bodybuilding world, and I never had those idols. But bodybuilding to me was a bit of a weird sport, if you can call it that. Bit of a weird...
I mean, it is. Like, that's not beat around the bush.
Is it a sport?
You're injecting yourself with stuff to grow your muscles to ungodly levels, and you're standing on stage in a tight pair of pink pants to go and show it all off. That's pretty weird in my eyes.
That world blew my head off. I'm like, why would grown men choose to do that? And me growing up, to be honest, my role models were always sportsmen. It were always martial artists. It was always, as childish as it sounds, all right, growing up I had Power Rangers, all right, ultimate martial artists. I had anime, all right, I had all these completely unrealistic physiques. Like, you only have to look at Dragon Ball Z and be like, everyone's jacked in there, but they're like, it's not real. I'm aware that it's not real. They look great. If somebody said, oh, you can be Super Saiyan 1 Goku, I'd be like, mint, it looks great. Yeah. But you sort of have that little dose of realism. So I never really immersed myself into that bodybuilding world. And I think that's why, again, steroids I've always found it really bizarre as a concept, that unless it's your job and you get paid to look a certain way, perform a certain way, I always struggled to understand why people would do it unless it was out of some deep insecurity. And obviously, like I said, all the sportsmen I used to look up to, odds are they didn't go anywhere near steroids because the testing was so stringent. And when you look at these fringe sports who the testing isn't as stringent, I've just never understood it. I'm like, if we are fed up of people taking steroids, dying early deaths, suffering all the problems, this infertility issue, all these issues that people struggle with later on in life, why aren't we regulating these sports better? And it comes down to, in my opinion, the consumers. Why would you want to see a natural bodybuilder when you can see some, 300-pound monster?
Freak show.
Yeah. And that's probably the reason why, in my opinion. So...
A few things there. You're absolutely right. Even the people who organise these events are well aware that they're putting on a freak show, and people are coming to see the freaks. They want to see that. Second of all, you mentioned something really important. You said insecurities.
Yes.
This is what fuels a lot of people's steroid use, and the whole episode is about the male body image crisis. This is fueled by insecurities and people's insecurities on how they feel as a man. And I think muscles are a bit like flash cars. They are an instant insight into someone, and muscles are an instant insight into someone's masculinity, and we associate muscle mass with masculinity as blokes. I think that's ingrained in us from a kid, isn't it? You see a big bloke, you think he's probably more masculine than that guy's accountant.
Yep.
The accountant might be earning 3, 4, 5 times what he's earning. Might be living in a big house, might have a yacht somewhere, a nice car. But we just see the bodybuilder in the gym as being more masculine. And weirdly, as a kid, you kind of want to look more like that rather than what an accountant looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Did you have any insecurities as a kid?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I had a few little body image issues. I remember being on holiday sometimes and not wanting to take my top off in the pool a few times. That was definitely something I remember vividly, being on holidays and not feeling as confident in my physique, and that being a big driver as to why I would work out, so I didn't have to feel that feeling. I think as a kid as well, maybe a few little comments by like other kids on holiday and things like that just were like quite a light-hearted jokes, but I just probably didn't take it that way. That probably fueled a little bit of my insecurity. How about you?
Yeah, it's similar. Very, very similar, whether it were comments from other people or I think I mentioned this on podcast a couple of times. I was playing football and I fell like on my front and my arm sort of splayed out and a guy landed on my shoulder. All right. Something was damaged in my shoulder where, again, I wasn't really doing any upper body work apart from press-ups from martial arts, but my entire shoulder started to deteriorate. So all my left side basically just collapsed on itself, and I really struggled to connect to the muscles there, and I got tested eventually for motor neuron disease, which worried my mum.
Is that what triggered it?
Yeah, that's the one isolated incident, because I remember it felt a bit weird, and a couple of months later my entire shoulder muscle just started to deteriorate on one side.
Yeah.
So I went through all the testing for like motor neuron disease and that sort of stuff, and we just weren't getting anywhere. And my mum, bless her, she was absolutely petrified that something like that could happen to her eldest, like he's going to end up in a wheelchair the rest of his life. He's going to, she starts catastrophizing. Deep down, I knew it wasn't that. I knew it was from this injury, and that's probably where my fascination with the body came from, because I really wanted to know, like, right, let me get this lacrosse ball, let me work away at that muscle, let me just try and connect to this area a little bit more. Let me do some face pulls, some back wing tees if you've ever done those before.
Yep.
And I managed to sort of rehab it by myself. And then I sort of realised at that point that, oh, okay, that was a massive hang up of mine. There's a picture of me and my family, and we go to a Turkish mud bath in Turkey. Have you been in one of these before?
Not a mud bath, but I've been to some Turkish baths before, yeah.
It's nuts. If ever you get a chance to go to Turkey, they do these huge outdoor mud baths where you basically just this hot mud, you just absolutely lather yourself in it. And in the picture, you can see just one of my shoulders is so deteriorated and low.
Yeah.
And I look back at that now and I think, God, I'm in my teens. What a horrible age for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because you just, there's the T's in there, so all that sort of stuff, you get hung up on it. That's the key thing here, like the body image hang-ups. I really, really wanted to change that. So rather than looking for quick fixes, we try and understand what I can control. And I think that's very much my personality type. We just try and fix it. But my body image at that time were absolutely shot. I were known for being sporty and athletic and just went very inward at that time.
Yeah.
Very, very self-aware. Confidence was low. Yeah, it was a tough time, that.
I think it's funny how many people in the fitness industry and work in the fitness industry have got stories like that, where it all stemmed from insecurity. I think, maybe some of mine was fueled from some comments and being a bit self-conscious on holidays and me looking into how I can improve my body and get it better, get leaner, build more muscle. And then that ultimately led into a career because I'd educated myself around that. I think that's pretty much the pathway for me. Sounds like for you, it was similar things. It was an accident. It was an incident. Yeah. It was something that was out of your control. You were then trying to get more in control. You educated yourself. You found this passion and this knowledge that no one else had. And you were like, I can make a career out of this. I think you'd be surprised how many people in the fitness industry, it's all fueled on some kind of male body image crisis at some point.
Yeah. I'd probably say more often than not, that's probably number one reason I'd say why people get into the gym, to change the way they look. It's very rare that people train solely for their mental health, solely for, to be fit and active for the kids. Most people train to look better. Let's face it.
Yeah.
We can't beat around the bush with that. Most people train to look better, and then hopefully what happens is they achieve that, and then they start to see the other benefits that come from fitness. And as someone who's done work in care homes, this is related, by the way, I always used to ask people for advice. So I used to deliver activity leadership qualifications to care homes, and I used to talk to some residents. And if ever there was a couple in there who'd been married for decades, I always used to ask them, I'm like, have you got any advice? And I think it was before I got married, so I'm asking, like, any marriage advice? And they said, yeah, looks fade, but, your personality stays. They have to grow together. But you will. And I remember this one woman saying, yeah, one day you look like him. Just sagging in a chair. I'm like, that's a good point, actually. And that was one of my key things that I've written down here, which is, unfortunately, people who prioritise the way that they look and give a bit too much worth to how they look completely disregard other areas of development, such as emotions, career, whether it be studies. They seem to disregard that and just chase this aesthetic, which can be taken away from you tomorrow. And I find that really sad.
I think you absolutely bang on the money there. I think we're chasing aesthetics and visuals more than we are personality and morals and that kind of internal thing that's a little bit more difficult to obtain. I think about, like, why do we like superheroes? We don't like superheroes just because they look good. What's the one thing that most superheroes have got in common? They've got this eerie level of charisma.
Yeah.
Haven't they?
Heroic, aren't they?
Heroic, yeah. Even the villains have got a certain level of charisma that we quite like. Bane, for example. He's a villain, but he's a big villain.
Yeah.
And he's charismatic. And he's got a certain level of care and emotion that as the movie goes on, you kind of find out more about. And I think we're not obsessed enough about that as men, as being, respected, charismatic. We think that just, looking a certain way will bring all those things, but it doesn't. And I think that's where we've gone wrong. And I think everything's so visual nowadays. But again, social media plays into that. And we only show the highlight reels, don't we?
Just before we dive into socials, I actually got some shit from a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago because my favourite superhero is Captain America. I used to love him growing up as a kid. And the irony is, to get his superpowers, he had to take some special juice.
Oh, really?
And get injected. But if ever you've seen Captain America, the film before? The first one?
I'm not a big Marvel guy, mate.
Right.
No.
So in the film, all right, Steve Rogers is this scrawny little dude. All right, he must be 5'2", but he's quite a heroic dude. He's got this personality where he just wants to help people. And he applies for army, and he keeps getting laughed at because he's so small. But what he lacks physically, he makes up for in like bravery, intuition. He thinks very differently. And there's this famous scene where the sergeant sort of says, right, I want you to grab that flag, and it's this massive flagpole, and everyone's scrapping to get up to the top, and they're all pulling each other down, and he just sort of stands back and watches, and no one can get it. So he walks up to it, pulls the pin out, the flagpole falls down, and he just picks up the flag. So you can see just that level of like, if I just stop dick swinging for a bit, I can figure this out. And then he's the one who sort of gets chosen to have this super soldier serum that makes him more of who he is, basically.
Super soldier serum.
To make him, yeah, this is it. To make him more of who he is.
This has got me thinking about how many other areas of superhero this features. The Hulk.
Yeah.
Takes a certain potion, becomes the Hulk.
Yeah.
Drinks the potion, and become the Hulk.
Yeah.
Is it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
This is kind of in the reverse. So is it Dr. Hyde has to inject himself to stop becoming Mr. Jekyll?
Yeah. So it's the split personality.
But it's injecting yourself with stuff to be the person you want to be. And this is fascinating, isn't it? I've not really thought about it like this before, but it does, this sense of exogenous chemicals, shall we call them, seeping their way into every aspect of these male role models and superheroes. But
and it makes you wonder, like, my mate asked me, he's like, be honest, right? If you had that situation, okay, if you were proven to be like, you'll take this, you'll be jacked, it'll make you more of who you are, you get superpowers, would you take it? And I'm one of the most anti-steroid person you'll ever see. But I'd want to be Captain America. All right, straight up. If someone were like, this is what you get, I'm like, mint, yeah. All right. Because I think I could do some good with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it for any aesthetic sort of, narcissistic reason.
You'd do it to be a superhero. An out-and-out superhero.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a cool thing.
It's fascinating, that.
Yeah.
But you've never been tempted by steroids other than that in the past? Not for muscle, not for performance, nothing like that? No, at all?
My mum and both of my nans would have murdered me.
Would they? Really?
Yeah. 1,000,000%. I think we've been around that many ill people in his life, putting your life at risk through vanity, like for vanity reasons.
Yeah.
It's just a no-go.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. I think, hand on heart, I can promise you, never in my life have I ever taken steroids. And I think I know some people have found that quite hard to believe with some of the images that I've put out of things I've done with my physique.
You do edit them quite well, though.
There's might be a few filters on there. Don't worry about that. But
I am joking, by the way. Like, Ryan does actually like that all the time.
Not all the time. Christmas has just might be high levels of body fat now. But I have nearly been swayed a few times. I'm not sure if I've talked about this in the podcast before, and I won't name this person by name because they're still very active on social media, but quite a big prominent figure in the UK bodybuilding scene is a guy that I used to work with at a nightclub, and I was the little bartender guy. He was the big bodybuilder on the door, and how old will I have been? I think I was about 18, I was about 19, 20. He was only about 16 at the time.
Okay.
He was a good few years younger than me. And he shouldn't have been working the doors, but he was that big that he did. And he'd been on gear since he was about 14. He'd been on juice a couple of years by the time I saw him. I was working with him at 16. And I just was talking to him one day about the gym and how into it I was, and he was telling about some of the things that he took, and I was like, no, it's just not me, that. And then I saw him over the space of the next 6 months to a year really start to get competitive in the bodybuilding world, show me some of his pictures on stage. I was like, wow, I would love that. And then I think I just had one of those bad days where you're just like, I'm just not seeing the results I want. It's really slow. You see this guy making massive amounts of progress, and maybe had my head turned a little bit. And I approached him. I said, look, you know what? Maybe I will take some stuff. Write me down some things I need to take. I have no idea about them. Don't know where to get them. It's a completely foreign world to me, this. And I'll see if maybe you can, sort some things out for me. And he sent me an email, actually. And it was an A4 page of things. And from top to bottom, it was filled.
Wow.
And there must have been, I reckon, about over 20 different things on there. And he gave me a monthly cost, which was quite expensive for a student, by the way. And I just said, do I need to take all this? I was thinking it'd be like one little pill or one little jab or something. And I was like, he was like, yeah, because you need to take this to counteract this. And this causes gynecomastia, which is bitch tits. So you need to have this to counteract this. And this keeps these levels low, but that'll keep those levels at a certain point. And I was just straight away, as soon as he started explaining, I was like, this don't feel right. Yeah. Straight away, I'm entering into a world here I'm not sure about. Yeah. It feels wrong from a health point of view. I kind of read this weird moment where I was like, why did I get into this? I got into this to be the best I could be, feel healthier, build muscle mass. And I almost, in my very immature mind, somehow managed to pull out of it and go, it don't feel right. I didn't write it off. And I think in that moment, what I said to myself was, if I ever get to a point where I hit a massive plateau and I can't go any further and I've hit my genetic limitation, I'll reconsider. But I said, let me just see what I can do by myself before I start doing all this. And I think it was a good thing, because it gave me a new lease of like, right, let's get to a point where maybe I can jump on that, but let's just do it naturally. And it just, as the years rolled on and I got more into it and more obsessed, I just never felt that urge to jump on it. I always felt like I've got a bit more naturally. And as I started listening to some of the top bodybuilders, they would say to me, not to me, but on videos that I used to watch, they would say, wait till you're at a point where you feel like you can't go anymore. Go as far as you can naturally and then jump on. And it reinforced that message of like, no, you're right, maybe I shouldn't go on now. And I just, still to this day, I never have got to that point. I'm kind of out of that world now a little bit. I'm not as much into my bodybuilding. I probably only do weights 3 times a week, if that. And I'm able to maintain my physique that I've got. A lot of my sessions in the week now are just very cardiovascular based. A lot of running, a lot of rowing, a lot of conditioning sessions, high rock stuff. That's where my kind of passion lies, more than it does in the bodybuilding world now. I love being in shape, and I'm always going to have a bit of an affiliation with that. But I've rode that wave and I kind of played the long game. It wasn't something that I ever did. And I saw a really good video by a guy another guy in the UK bodybuilding scene, and he was talking about how much steroids affect different people. And he was like, a lot of the guys that he works with are on steroids. He's a competitive bodybuilder. He coaches the bodybuilders to do shows. And he had this really nice message actually about how a lot of young lads, when they get on it in their late teens, early 20s, actually have no idea of the long-term consequences of what they're doing in that moment. They do it because they're thinking, well, I'm just going to do one cycle, just do it for a few months and then I'll jump off. He's like, I deal with guys who did a cycle 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they are still hormonally paying the price for it right now. They still haven't recovered. They went too hard, they messed themselves up, their energy, their testosterone's never ever recovered. And now they've got to do some funky things with a few funny chemicals to try and get things back to normal. I think he's quite in the know with this stuff, with the chemicals to take. But I just thought, how many guys do just mess themselves up for a long, long, long time? I've got a friend who had some quite serious mental health issues after being on gear for so long, and I remember at the time he was bragging about how, like, you do a cycle of these things, don't you? And so you're on it, then you're off it, you're on it, and you're off it. He would brag about, I just never come off. I'm just always on. And then down the line, have these psychotic episodes. And it's all because of that. Just the education around it isn't there. Like, people are jumping on these steroids and these compounds without really knowing what they are. And it's something I wish more people knew the long-term consequences of.
My big concern is when people know the after effects and they do it anyway. Because you could Google anything now, and you'd probably get a pretty decent summarization of, if I do X, what will happen? Y will happen. Okay, what about Z? Yeah, that'll probably happen as well. Yeah, fine, I'll take that risk. It's like this complete disregard for future you and how difficult your life could be. And I mentioned today, I've just had a bit of a bee in my bonnet when I started writing some notes up, which is marketing to young impressionable boys in a way that you're either not transparent or too transparent, or it's glorified. I can think of a handful of podcasts who are very mainstream now, who are actively promoting steroid use to these young boys, these aspirational boys. They're like, look, let's just peel back the curtain. This is what we're taking. You can do this, you can do this. Genuinely, if Ted ever pulled me to one side and he's like, Dad, been listening to these people, this is what they're saying to do, I'd be mortified.
Yeah.
Like straight up, I just think how irresponsible are these people? Because realistically, they're marketing to somebody's son, somebody's grandson, somebody's future dad one day maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe they've caused them irreversible damage.
It's a funny old world, isn't it? But also as well, I know people who take steroids. I've got friends, not in my immediate circle. I know friends in my immediate circle have taken it in the past who are on it now. I think we're all kind of coming out of that world, really, or have come out of that world. But they've done great things. They've competed. They've stepped on stage. They've done things they never thought they would have done because they jumped on steroids, built a physique, got into training more, and there's been some real net positives of it. But I also think they will pay the price at some point. Like, even the guys who compete understand that it's a live fast, die young kind of approach that they're taking. I remember listening to Dr. Mike Israetel, very well respected person in the fitness world, maybe a little bit less respected at the moment after some papers have come out about his PhD thesis. But he was talking quite openly about his steroid use and saying, look, I'm well aware. No one's more aware of the detriments of steroids, but I'm never going to stop taking them. If it means I die at 50, 60, 70, I'm okay with that. I'd rather live the way I want to live. Yeah. And I'm okay with the consequences down the line. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's the decision you're making. No one's questioning that. Cool. You're living life the way you want to live. In fact, if anything, that's quite admirable. But there needs to be more education around it, and it's the seediness of the marketing to people who shouldn't really be considering it, who are considering it, and probably going to get stung down the line. And it all does just play into this. Like I said, I don't want this to be like a steroid bashing podcast, because it's just one key factor of many factors when it comes to this male body image crisis. But do you know what I think all this stems from? Really, it's impatience. Because we talk about female body image crisis. If a female's got a bit of a body image crisis, what's one of the most prevalent things that women do to change their physique? They starve themselves, don't they? Mm-hmm. Anorexia is overwhelmed by females. Steroid use is overwhelmed by males. And the issue is, it's impatience. We're not willing to wait on a diet and go down that path of following those steps, being consistent, getting off the weight slowly in a healthy way. I'm just going to cut it off at the source. Even if you diet, though, you will achieve results way, way quicker. If you diet in the most fantastic, healthy, long-term, conscious way, you will achieve results way quicker than you will trying to build muscle. And I think that's where the male body image crisis has taken off, because it takes way longer to build muscle, and guys can't wait. The male body image crisis, if you're going through that, isn't willing to wait the 20 years that I waited. And I actually don't blame people for that. Like, if you told me how long it would actually take, I'd probably be like, oh God, yeah, we're in it for the long haul here. But you've got some guy at the gym saying, I can get you that in 2 years. Take these for a year and you'll be halfway there. Oh, is that tempting? Is that tempting for a young guy? Of course it is. 100%. So you've got to have a real head screwed on to say no to that stuff, I think, in the moment, when it's so much more available and prevalent now, especially in the bodybuilding gyms.
I think this is what's very, very difficult, because you mentioned in bodybuilding gyms, the environment, like you said it there about, you're out of that world a little bit now. A lot of your news feed on socials, a lot of what you surround yourself with is very performance-based. However, certain cultures will promote, like, who's the biggest dude in the gym? Who's got best biceps? Who's this? Who's that? And it becomes a bit of a social thing, and there's always a bigger fish. It's always a bigger fish. You go and train somewhere else. Guess what? It's a bigger fish. And I think that comes from a strong sense of self and self-worth. And if you're trying to replace your own self-worth with external factors, with the way that you look, with how much you earn, with what you've got, or how you're perceived. I think it's a very, very slippery slope for most people. And I've wrote down here, the relationship with yourself is the most vital thing in the world when it comes to your own happiness, your own fulfillment. The second you stop giving yourself the attention that you give to other people that you love, you're pretty screwed. Because that self-talk is vital. It's absolutely vital. And if all you're surrounded with is this environment of crushing comparison, and to mention him again, Cole Hastings in one of his videos he did, you go through and you see some people's news feeds and they see what these influencers look like 1% of the time, but you've got this entire grid of hundreds and hundreds of pictures. You're made to think that that's what they look like all the time, and it's a highlight reel. That's all it is.
I've said this so many times before, and I've said it a lot to some of the younger clients that I coach in their early 20s, and maybe even late 20s, some of them. When I was a kid, I sound like a right old man now, back in my day, I used to compare myself to people at my gym. That was my only comparison, really. I mean, you weren't comparing yourself to bodybuilders because they were in a whole different league. I was just comparing myself to that guy in the gym. And everyone had that bit of a guy in the gym that was a bit like you, kind of on a similar level, making similar gains to you. And it was like you kind of like gym nemesis almost.
Secret beef,
yeah. And he knew it and you knew it, but there was no spoken word around it. That was like the biggest comparison, really. And as long as you were doing better than him, or you felt like you were keeping up with him, you were all right. Nowadays, you are comparing yourself to the best physiques in the world, and you're bombarded with that because you're following those people, and those people are cropping up and they're getting a lot of likes and their physiques are being adored. And so every day you go on there and you're not now competing with that little gym nemesis who's on your level. You're now being comparing yourself to these guys who are the 0.0001% in the world, got a Gymshark sponsorship, on all sorts probably, and have got maybe a fantastic coach behind them as well, and just getting the best of the best. It's hard because that fuels that male body image crisis, and that's the main word, the crisis. It's not a body, like, you know, I had it in the past where I was like, you know, a bit concerned about how I looked, and, you know, I wanted to do some things about it. It wasn't a crisis. When you've been bombarded by these things every day, it becomes in your own mind a bit of a crisis. Like, I'm making such slow progress. I really don't want to look the way I look. And one thing I want to pivot away from actually is just the body.
Yep.
We've spoken very heavily about the body, the neck down.
Yep.
Let's talk about the neck up.
Okay.
Let's talk about plastic surgeries. Let's talk about filler. Let's talk about Botox. I know loads of blokes who are taking this shit. Do you know any guys taking this shit?
Do I know any guys who are Botoxed? I'm blissfully unaware about these things. I always have been. To the point where I was blissfully unaware of, again, going from the neck down, like steroids for quite a long time. And even now, I don't know. It's the area that I grew up in. One, it's not the dumb thing. But two, I think I just struggle to recognise what's normal now. So anyone who does have it done, who knows me, I haven't noticed.
Okay.
I genuinely haven't noticed.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't even really notice it when girls have it. I'm blissfully unaware, exactly the same as you are. I'll be walking down the road sometime and Mrs. will go, "Did you see her face? Didn't move." She was talking but didn't move. Or we'll be on like a hotel somewhere, and the concierge will be like, you know, "Do you want help with this?" or checking in, and she'll be like, "Her face didn't move. Do you see how much Botox she had?" I'm like, I've just got no idea. I know what you mean. I mean, with makeup and that now, it all kind of looks, they all look the same anyways, you know what I mean?
I can see if it goes really wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not that daft.
I mean, the only thing I do notice is like the duck lips.
Yeah.
I noticed those quite a lot. But in men, I think men are probably getting it like more subtly. And I've had loads of lads in the past, loads of guys who've like, do you know what? All the guys who've admitted to me they've taken or had Botox or filler have all been over 40.
Okay.
All been over 40 because they get to that point where got a few little crow's feet. I mean, I've got a few. I've got bloody, you know, what's he called? Chef.
Map of Wales.
I've got Map of Wales on my head forehead at the moment. Gordon Ramsay. I'm on the way to be Gordon Ramsay forehead.
He's God tier. Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay's got God tier forehead.
He has. Yeah. And I like the fact he said no to the kind of Botox, hasn't he? He's very real. But you do start getting more wrinkles. I think that's where males become a little bit more self-conscious. And I think what fuels that a little bit more as well is the fact that we all work from our laptops and take calls.
Yeah.
They reckon that during COVID, the amount of people getting plastic surgeries and Botox went through the roof.
Wow.
And that's because people were seeing themselves on a screen all day, every day.
Okay.
And you've got your face coming back at you. And so people are like looking at themselves going, oh, do I really look like that? I'm going to look at my wrinkles there. All right, I'll put myself in some filler in it, and plastic surgery and fillers and Botox during COVID went through the roof. I've got some stats here about men and Botox in particular.
By the way.
In 2020, around 265,000 men received Botox injections in the US. Global procedure data from 2022 indicates that 9.2 million Botox treatments were performed worldwide. 1.37 of those were on men. So globally, 9.2 million Botox surgeries, and let's call it 10% were on men. So actually 10% of people who are getting Botox are men now.
Wow.
Interestingly. And that was from 2022. I'm going to assume that's probably gone up a little bit since then.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
Any other stats that it can pull out here? In the UK, around 16% of Botox bookings were by men. 1 in 6 patients were male. This is way more than we thought.
That's way more. Yeah.
23% of men aged 18 to 34 had Botox fillers or similar treatments in recent years. So it's actually on the rise in younger men as well. So this is just interesting to see the stats and figures here when it comes to Botox. I'm going to swing it back round to steroids just for a brief moment, because I did have some stats on steroids. Okay. It's quite loose, this, because you don't really know. It's all kind of anecdotal surveys and stuff like that. But they reckon somewhere in the region of 500,000 to 1 million people in the UK take PEDs or performance-enhancing drugs. About 1.4% to 2.7% of men aged 15 to 64 in the UK have used steroids. So 1.4 to, so let's call it 1.5 to 3% of males.
Wow.
In the UK admit to having used steroids. I wonder whether that's even a little bit low.
Again, self-reporting,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's tricky because we spend a lot of time in gyms. You get these YouTube videos now where YouTubers, have you seen where they do this? Where they go around gyms and they ask people how many people in the gym are on steroids. I think most of the stats are around 65%.
Well, everyone just because they're on steroids.
No, he basically asks the person, goes, right, we're on YouTube, do you want to take part? Can you answer this honestly? Have you been on steroids? And I think from what the YouTube videos that I have watched around this, the general consensus at the end is around 65% of people, which blows my mind to think that in our gym, there might be 65% of people on gear.
I'm going to make the very...
Or have taken gear.
I'm going to make the nuanced case that anyone who stops to talk to someone doing a YouTube channel probably has some sort of tendencies for, the downfall of, of those tendencies we're speaking about.
Some other stats. So, age trends, surveys and research suggest that it most commonly begins in adulthood between 20 to 24 years old. There was some about stats about men who take it earlier. Lifetime use in men. Some meta-analysis suggests that approximately 6.4% of men have used anabolic steroids at some point. So that's saying that it might even be higher than that, 6.4. That sounds more realistic from my experience. Oh, that's right, yeah. So 25% of steroid users say they started using steroids in their teens. So a quarter of the people who take steroids, of that kind of 500,000 to 1 million, say they started in their teenage years.
Teens. And they say with men, we're still growing until we're 26. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is nuts to think you don't even know you are yet. You've not even reached any sort of potential what you can get. You don't even know who you are. Yeah. And it is
physically or mentally.
Yeah.
And you're about to take something that can change both of those things, your mental state and your physical state.
Your complete life trajectory sometimes.
Yeah. But I'm going to pause you there because I'm absolutely dying for a wee, mate.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take a little break. We'll be back in a second. All right, we're back.
We're back.
Go on, hit us up then. What's your next talking point on the male body image crisis?
I feel like I'm living up to every stereotype that someone said to me last week about Ryan brings a lot of stats. Brad brings a lot of philosophy, which there's no better place to go than the story of Narcissus. Have you heard this before?
Narcissus, go on.
So it's a Greek myth which tells a tragic demise of unrequited love from a guy who falls in love with his own reflection.
Interesting.
Leading to his transformation into the Narcissus flower, otherwise known as a daffodil. So this guy sees his reflection I think it's in a stream, falls in love with it, gets a spell put on him and turns into a daffodil. And he just completely loses his life because he's obsessed with who he is and what he looks like. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about people who are a little bit too self-obsessed. And I had this chat with someone a couple of weeks ago about what does it actually mean to be confident? Because I'm confident that, like I'm saying confident a lot, I'm confident that a lot of the male body image crisis probably stems from confidence. And when I say to you, Ryan, what is true confidence to you? What does it feel like? So when you're at your most confident, are you bothered about what other people are thinking? Are you bothered about if other people are looking at you? You're probably not.
The complete opposite of that.
Exactly.
It's 100% self-assurance in that you are who you say you are and you're happy with that.
You're in the moment. You're very much taking things in your stride. You can see I can see Ted running down the beach. You know, I can see Amy chasing after him. I'm not thinking, oh, them people sat on them sun lounges. Are they looking at my shoulders thinking, oh, that left one's a little bit... They're not. Or if they are, who cares? And it's that reassurance that you have that ability to be confident right now. You just have to take some reps, but you can figure that out.
Yeah.
You can figure that out. If I can swing it back round too, mate, you mentioned something earlier about from the neck up, and special mention for hair and teeth as well. Because I think there's a lot to be said about people who feel maybe self-conscious of the teeth, self-conscious of the hair. And there's all sorts of stats now of people sort of saying, look, from a hair perspective, if you're doing it for, female attention, most women don't give a shit. It's probably more from a male perspective that I really want to keep hold of that.
It's a masculine thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you look at how many people how many women think The Rock's sexy with his bald head, that's through the roof, right?
Yeah.
But men, there's something about... I think hair and teeth for me is the one thing that I've gone all in on in terms of trying to change, because they're probably the two things I've been most self-conscious about in recent years, and that's just from age. Like, your teeth move around, they change, they morph, they kind of adapt to stress of grinding. They morph to whatever you put in your mouth, from quality of food to sugars, things like that. So my teeth have changed over time. My hairline's obviously gone back and it's got a lot thinner. And so I've tried to do a few things to correct that. I've not quite been to Turkey just yet, but I have debated it. And if you look at the numbers of people who get hair transplants, guys who get hair transplants now, it's huge, right?
Have you seen these people who've died from having it done?
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's painful.
Yeah, it is.
There's some cowboys out there.
Oh, there is, yeah. You've got to be really careful about where you go to in Turkey. There are some phenomenal places out there as well. And I know people who've gone out there, and actually, I know doctors who've been out there and had the procedures over there rather than over here. They've gone, these doctors they're legit. They know the stuff. They're quite pioneering in the hair transplant space. I think in the teeth space, or the dentist I coach have the opposite to say. These guys are a bit more cowboy and haphazard. You're best off getting your teeth done over here. Yeah. But as long as you get your hair done right over there, you should be okay. But yeah, that's just another thing that fuels this male body image crisis, is guys maybe wanting to hold on to the youth a little bit more.
No.
And I've definitely felt that. I don't know what it is. I can't accept going bald. I want to have my hair for as long as I can. But as soon as you start seeing it go back and get a bit thinner, you start panicking, don't you? I had some work done on my teeth a few years back, because I had one tooth right at the front that just turned. And every time I took a photo, or someone took a photo of me, it would, whenever I smiled, the light would catch it differently, and it really. So you'd
always be aware of it.
It was just a buck. It was like a buck tooth. It just turned, and it swiveled in its socket, if you call it a socket. And I was very conscious of it. And I got to the point I wouldn't smile on photos. I'd have this kind of like 14-year-old boys go. like the pursed lip.
Yeah, like everyone.
Yeah.
Like when you see someone who you sort of know in the street, and you're like,
yeah, that's
right,
it. I'd be like that on every photo. Like your mum's made you smile. I'm like, very unenthusiastic about it because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in the photo. Can't show my teeth. So I did something about it, and actually, I have honestly, it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I feel so much more confident with my teeth now. But it's a funny, wasn't it? Because these things are so much more accessible, and that I'll be honest with you, that made me so much more confident. It did. It turned like a real thing that was quite. Even when I was speaking to people, I'd like almost not open my mouth as much sometimes, and it's quite horrible saying that actually, because it takes me back to a time when I was, almost a bit of a shell because I didn't want to open up my mouth and say what I wanted to say because I was worried people would see my teeth.
Do you ever like get super conscious about where people's eyes go? So like, as we're speaking then about teeth and hair, I've done nothing but just look at you square in the face because I'm conscious how weird that can feel sometimes if someone glances down or glances up.
Yeah, or looks at your teeth like that. Yeah.
And evolutionary speaking, that's why we've got these whites in his eyes, so we can see where people's attention is.
Right.
Which I find quite interesting because some other animals haven't got that. You notice this?
No.
Have you not seen it?
Gorillas have got eyes, haven't they?
So like, if a gorilla goes like that, you're like, shit, what's behind me?
Yeah.
And you can sort of see like their attention's diverted from you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does really get me thinking. And I'm probably speaking from a place of privilege in a way. Like I've never had, I've always had pretty decent teeth. I've never had any problems.
You've got great teeth and great hair, mate. I'm very jealous.
Terrible facial hair though. I'm not going to lie. It looks very, very patchy. So I think I'm super conscious of that.
You can get turkey beard transplants, mate. Don't worry about that.
Okay. All right, send me some details. And again, it's being very aware that. Be aware of the position that you're speaking from. That's all I would say to people because, I'll never comment on someone's height, for example. Like, I can't help it that I'm nearly 6'4". Like, I can't help that. So I never, ever comment on somebody's height because what's the point? What's the point? If they bring it up, that's the insecurity of them. I think that's what's really interesting about maybe people's self-deprecating humour, which you see a lot of in men, where they'll take piss out of himself before someone else does. I find that almost an interesting defence mechanism. Have you noticed this?
I just think it's just about who takes the piss out of me. Probably my missus more than anyone else, I'll be honest with you. The amount of lack of hair follicle banter I get from my missus is comical, really.
I've ever told you what Amy calls my chest hair?
What?
So I'm not the hairiest dude in the world. So some people have like a rug.
Yeah.
Amy calls it my bath mat.
Your bath mat. Oh.
My bath. I'm not showing you. Literally like a bath mat. She's like, you can sort your bath mat out. I think that's what women are put on this earth for, mate. To
keep you in check.
Keep us grounded.
But the little one does it now as well. Yeah. And Amy has a right laugh. What was it the other day? Harlow said something like, I think she was getting her hair done, and she was like, "I want princess hair," and she was like, "I want Daddy to have prince hair. Put Daddy prince hair," and he was like, "Fucking hell, it'll do well with that hair. Don't worry about that." So any time the hair's mentioned, I just get fucking thrown under the bus.
It's when you know it's coming, isn't it? And you're like, "Oh, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. I can see it coming." Sometimes even out in conversation with like parents or some little bit of meal. And the hair will get thrown up, and I just catch eyes of Amy across the room, and we're just sniggering at each other. But it's funny. It's like we take it in a light-hearted way. But yeah, you're right. I guess guys are quite self-deprecating to a certain degree, and you can normally tell where the insecurities lie sometimes when you're talking to guys, because you'll get that sense of they're taking the piss out of themselves there, but it probably is a bit of a deeper-rooted issue.
And you know what lads are like, where if you give them any banter or you take it a bit too far and they react. Like we once went on a football night out and my little brother wore like a white shirt and then like a cream overshirt.
Okay.
And straight away somebody took a picture, put it on the Snapchat. And the I'm a Celebrity things where you can put like the number on the back, like to save Bill.
Oh yeah, really?
Splashed it all over social media.
Mega.
I just remember Bill being like, I'm going to take this off in a minute. And I'm like, don't bite. All right. Because if you let them know that it's bothering you, they're going to do it more.
Yeah.
Own up to it. Like, just like lean into it if you can. Because you get slaughtered if not. I'm like, just go and tell them you're going to do a bush tucker trial, or like, just take piss out of yourself. Because it's such a disarming thing. Yeah.
It takes a really big personality to be able to ride that wave of banter well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think I was historically not very good at that. I was always an easy target. Even my brothers used to say to me I was quite an easy one to wind up. But I think I just took myself too seriously, I think, when I was younger. And I definitely felt like that in my teenage years. I think a lot of people do. We take ourselves too seriously sometimes.
Yeah.
I've lightened up a lot as I've got older.
Or there's people who don't take themselves seriously enough.
Yeah,
It's
true.
very much a fine line. Isn't it? Of like,
Yeah.
maybe you get into a position of authority or leadership and you think, maybe I do need to take myself a bit more seriously.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add to the male body image crisis episode? Anything we've not covered?
Not covered. The key things... Oof, do you know what? I'm going to save that for another one. Oh, I've got a random stat as well. Action figure muscles have grown 30% in 30 years.
Yeah, I did see that actually. Yeah, so actually action figures over time have got 30% more muscular, which is fascinating because it's almost like they're trying to change the idea of what we want to see and what's fueling society.
The hard bit is if it gets views and it gets numbers, society is probably going to lean into it.
Yeah.
If it goes, people want to see this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but is it helpful? Or can we just... I'm a big believer in voting with your feet. If you're not happy with something, just don't do it. Yeah. And if it's tough to not do, if it's tough to escape, you can curate your world to a degree. And if you're not happy with constantly seeing flawless physiques and that sort of stuff on Instagram, the algorithm's amazing. Just curate your newsfeed. You know, I want to see fewer of this, fewer of that, or just spend less time on social media, which is, again, easier said than done. But you have a lot more control and power than what you think.
If you want to see what fascinates people on social media, go onto their Discover page and just have a little look. Mine is like half-naked blokes, cars. What else have I got on there at the moment? Bikes.
I'm going to have to have a look at mine now. I'm going to have to have a look on mine. This is a dangerous game to play, right?
Where is... Should we do a little bit of a swap?
Oh, you up for it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do a bit of a swap.
Explore, right. I'm going to have to do it on my laptop, because as everyone knows. Right. Mine's not what I thought it'd be. Okay. All right. This is interesting.
Oh, right. I don't know how to get onto mine. I'll discover.
Fact,
there we go.
This is a very, very fair assessment of...
Go on.
How bad's yours?
Right, well... Me and my mates send each other a lot of different memes. Okay. And one thing we've started sending each other a lot recently is these AI Cristiano Ronaldo memes. Have you seen these?
Is it the one where he's like
he's Scottish?
Scotland. Yeah, Scottish.
Yeah, he's Scottish.
Begging for sausage rolls.
And now they basically started putting like Lionel Messi in there.
Okay.
And he basically picks on Lionel Messi in these little Instagram AI reels. They're hilarious.
Mine will surprise you. All right. Okay. So we've been watching a lot of Stranger Things.
Okay.
Right? So we've got some Steve Harrington shit in there.
Yeah.
We've got Pokemon, because Ted loves Pokemon.
Okay.
Pokemon in real life. Right. We've got memes.
Oh, there's a half-naked bloke in there, of course.
One half-naked bloke, which is not too bad. We've got Anna de Armas, special mention to Anna. We've got some Dragon Ball Z stuff, some football stuff.
Okay.
That is about as complex as it gets.
Yeah, yours isn't too bad, mate. Yeah, yours is pretty good. Do you want to scroll through mine?
Go on, let's have a look. Oh, fair. All right, yeah. Ronaldo memes. There's some dark humour there, mate. There's some terrible Cesc Fabregas haircuts.
Football. There's just some running shoes. I like my running shoes.
Yeah,
I'm into this.
That's an interesting one. There's just a bloke who's turned purple, but it looks animated. Yeah, fair. All right. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. White Monster meme.
White Monster, yeah.
It's got to be done.
I like my White Monster memes.
Yeah, there's that Man U fan who's gonna get his hair cut after they win 5 games in a row.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do like a bit of him. There's the Jordan Peters, still dipping my toes into the bodybuilding world a little bit. A lot of cars on there. I've got a lot of it's running shoes as well. I do like my running shoes memes.
I keep getting sent Jennifer Lawrence memes as well.
Okay.
I find Jennifer Lawrence hilarious. I think she reminds me of Amy a lot. And Amy, I love you dearly. But we always joke she's a bit goofy. All right, she does some very funny stuff, pulls some very funny faces, and Jennifer Lawrence definitely
Is Jennifer Lawrence like one of your? Okay, yeah. I like that.
I just find it really real and funny. So, yeah.
Is she in like your top 3?
I'd say she's up there.
I
like Jennifer.
Who's your top 3? Talk me through your top 3.
I think we both
since we're on the topic.
I think we both agreed with Mish, didn't we?
With
First time with Michelle Keegan.
Yes, Michelle Keegan's number 1 for me.
I feel like you've seen both of mine, so yeah, let's put Jennifer Lawrence up there, and you've seen the lovely Anna de Armas.
Okay.
Yeah. You know who Anna de Armas is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, sorry.
That was a
quick response there.
Yeah, I do, of course. My top 3. Number 1, Michelle Keegan. I've always said it from day one. Just girl next door. Naturally beautiful. Number 2, I think it's Maya Jama.
Yeah, fair. Do you know what her heritage is, by the way? I'm going wildly off topic here.
Is it like somewhere?
Somali Swedish.
I knew it was Somali. Yeah, I knew it was Somali. Didn't know it was Swedish, but I knew you can see a bit of Somali in there, can't you? Yeah. Mad combination that, by the way.
Yeah.
Had those two.
I've never heard that.
Somali Swedish.
Yeah.
I think she's best of both worlds as well, actually.
Yeah.
And then number 3, I probably just got to go because she's a bit of a wild child as well, and I like that. Megan Fox.
I feel disappointed that I've not remembered that canon event of my life when you first watched Transformers.
That's life changing.
Yeah. I saw you disappear then mentally for a bit.
not in a good way, in a weird way, in a really weird way. That's my top 3. Got to be those, and they're all like there's a theme there, isn't there?
There's a theme there.
Brunettes.
Yeah. There is a theme there.
Black eyes, brunettes. Yeah,
fair. That interests me actually because someone once pointed this out that most people are attracted to like the opposite of them in terms of like complexion and colourway because it seems to be like diverse gene pool. I think they talk about genetically. I
thought it was the opposite. I thought we're more attracted to people that look like us because we see those people and we recognise those people.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
I thought it was that way. I thought we're more attracted to the people who who do look like us.
Fair.
Maybe we'll have to do some research on that. I'm not sure I've got from male body image crisis to our top 3.
It happened, mate.
But we got there. Anything else for the male body image crisis episode? I think we pretty much covered everything, don't we?
Yeah, we've covered quite a lot. How have we gone all this time without speaking about 300? Gerard Butler in 300.
Yeah,
great
physique.
That were kind of an event in my life.
But on the video, it talks about that evolution of Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. In I keep forgetting the name of the movie.
Fight Club. It's because you don't talk about it.
It's because you like that. Here he is, Mr. Dad Joke.
There we go.
So we've got from Fight Club to 300. Then like the evolution of that is like
The Rock.
Wolverine, I think, went a little bit more than that. And he's adamant he wasn't on steroids in that one, but everyone's a bit skeptical. And then there's like The Rock now.
Thor. Love Hemsworth, by the way.
Hemsworth. We've got who's the other one with the long hair?
Just Momoa.
Jason Momoa. But do you know what? He don't really train either.
He notoriously hates exercising.
Just got ridiculous. It was actually Brett Contreras, who's the glute guy on Instagram. He broke down how good Jason Momoa's glutes actually are, and and he was like, I've trained 20 years to get glutes like that and I still don't have them. He's just naturally got amazing. And some people do, unfortunately. Some people do, gear and all sorts of stuff aside, training aside, they do just have genetically ridiculous physiques. I think Jason Momoa is one of those.
What an interesting job Brett Contreras has got.
Yeah.
Have you seen his gym recently?
It's a cool gym, isn't it?
It's a wild gym.
It's a wild gym in Florida, the wildest place in America, filled with pretty much every
Instagram models, right?
Basically, yeah.
Insta
I
models.
think every single one of the participants in his gym is like those Instagram girls who've got 1 million followers.
Yep.
It's just a gym full of those, basically.
Nice.
All looking to get outrageous glutes. Yeah, fascinating. I'm sure he's got some stories from his gym.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it is fascinating to see the way movies have all kind of depicted what masculinity is and how much muscle mass a man should have, and that's changed over time, hasn't it?
It's a bit like seeing The Matrix. If you can zoom out, and I think that's a bit of a skill, to be honest, zooming out and looking at pop culture and thinking, what is the undertone of this at the minute? What's going on? I saw something the other day, and we will wrap this up in a minute, Ryan. I'm sorry about this.
So good.
Where it were like the comparison between what a bloke in the 30s looked like in the 70s compared to now. Have you seen the comparison? It is nuts.
Yeah.
And you think, why is that? Is it something to do with self-care? Is it something to do with, I don't know, not smoking 40 cigs a day? Don't know. Just people seem to look much younger nowadays. Really fascinating.
Yeah. It's tricky because a lot of young guys are really benefiting from the fact that the gym's a more popular place to be and socialise. We've done podcast episodes all about how Gen Z now socialise more inside gyms than they do at the pub.
Yep.
And that's a positive. It is a net positive. But I think what fuels a lot of that is this undertone of the male body image crisis. And there's a lot of guys who are getting stung with this because they just haven't got that same drive and desire to be as consistent or stick it out. And they're the ones that are kind of getting left behind. And I also think, I wasn't sure whether to mention this, but I think it is an important part, unfortunately, I hate to say, is this whole idea that males are classed as either like alphas or betas nowadays. Certain males online, do I mention his name or not, I don't know, but have been like really reinforcing the fact that there's a lot of people who are just beta males and like, you aren't good enough, and because you don't look a certain way, earn a certain amount of money, perform a certain way in life, that you are inadequate in society. And I think that's completely dumbfounded, really, in terms of its claims.
What's bizarre is the term alpha male, and I've actually pulled up some notes that I'm going to write an email on this. The concept of a singular alpha male is basically bullshit, because alpha in other species means they are the solitary male.
Yeah.
They don't interact with any other males, really. If they do, they fight.
Yeah.
No one lives like that. We've not evolved that way.
No.
So the concept of an alpha male is literally bollocks.
Yeah.
So I don't know who thought, yeah, lone wolf, alpha male. Mate, you'd die. You won't learn anything.
Yeah.
If you just die.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts that even caught on.
Yeah.
So
I think touching on that, like, you also then have the opposite of that, where you get guys who are almost the opposite. And what's really, really nice sometimes, and the guys that I actually am endeared to the most in life in general, are guys who have a real masculine quality about them, but are not alpha anyway. They're not trying to be overly exerting in their ego, in their alpha nature. They just are masculine in their own right way. And they've got a great personality and confidence that backs that up. They're the guys that you meet, those guys, and you can see straight away. I see them in the gym sometimes. You get a guy, and he looks big and he looks intimidating, but you start talking to him and you go, oh, this guy's lovely. Really, really nice. No ego, no alpha, just enjoys training, on the same wavelength as me. Can have a great chat with him. Do you know what I'm thinking of when I think of that? Steve. At the gym.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you meant like an old dude, unlike
No,
Steve's.
Steve at the gym.
Yeah.
Big, burly, masculine bloke. And we started chatting to him. Loveliest guy ever.
He's been talking shit about you today, mate.
I see, really.
I definitely wouldn't.
Right, that's it. Me and Steve have got a beef now.
Yeah.
But just someone like that. He was the first person that sprang to mind now in our gym. A guy who, looks the masculine part, but when you start speaking to him, it's just a lovely, lovely bloke.
Yes.
They're the kind of guys I love. And I think if there's one thing that I want any male who's listening to this, or any female who wants to give advice to males that they think might be struggling with this, is surround yourself with those males. Seek out those non-egotistical, non-alpha males who are just going to really reinforce the message that it's not how you physically look that matters. If you want to pursue that in a healthy, confident way, awesome, go for it. I spent most of my life doing that. I'm not gonna sway anyone away from that. I think there's so many benefits to that. I've personally felt the benefits of that. But if it's something you're struggling with, seek out males who are showing you another side to life. It's not about how much you earn, how well you look after yourself. There's other qualities sometimes that are just as important as a human being, and they're the people you want to seek out.
Well said. I think the bit that's really shocked me today is we've not just spoken about body image and the cultural impact of something like bodybuilding and steroids. We have ventured into the mindset side of things. I was speaking to my sister-in-law's granddad. This is, if you're following along, sister-in-law's granddad. And I found him fascinating. A guy called Brian. He started off a conversation with, oh, I've heard you're moving house. How's that going? And then I says, how many times have you moved house, Brian? He went, well, I moved house, and then after that explosion in Scunthorpe in the 70s. I'm like, pull up a chair, mate. What were you talking about? Oh, I love talking to old blokes like that.
Yeah.
He just told me there were just a massive power plant explosion in Scunthorpe in the 70s, and he had to relocate. I'm like, what a nuts life you've lived.
Yeah.
I love talking to people like that, and I think there's a lot to be said about speaking to these people who are very experienced, love telling stories, can put your life in perspective a little bit.
That reminds me of the Inspire 26 event, and where there was some audio played from a lady who was in her 70s, 80s, and 80s, and she went back to university, or was it college? I think it was university. She always wanted a university degree, didn't she?
Lady called Rose,
yeah. And the kind of the audio playing was the girl who was at university, who was, I assume, 18, 19 years old in her first year. And on day one, they had this exercise where they were encouraged to speak to someone in the class that they didn't know, and she was quite nervous. She was looking around, and all of a sudden she feels a little tap on her shoulder, and as she looks around, there's a lady in her 80s there, and they just got talking about how she'd always wanted a university degree, and she'd come back to uni after all this time, and she quickly became friends with this lady, had some amazing stories. And over time, this 80-year-old became like a real face on campus because she stood out and she was different and she was so friendly and so happy to be there. She wasn't like, she was doing it for the right reasons. She was doing it because she wanted to be there rather than she felt like she had to do it. And she had so many good stories. And it was the day after she graduated? Or sometime, or maybe a week after, or something like that. Maybe it was a day after, a week after, a month after she graduated. One of those metrics. She died.
I've actually found.
Oh, have you?
The clip? Yeah.
Oh, amazing!
I've just searched it now, so I mean, if I can always attach it to notes if anyone does want to check it out.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put it in the notes if you're keen to listen to this story. But it's a lovely story about this lady who went back, and yeah, they're the kind of people that can sometimes bring you a lot of inspiration. I feel like, again, just going back to the male body image crisis, I think one thing that's lacking is role models. The older generation can be real role models for us, but we're looking up to guys who actually don't really have it all sorted themselves, and they're the guys that we're really in society that males are looking up to. The people that are actually a bit damaged and broken themselves have this quite polarising opinion, probably quite well spoken in their opinion, unfortunately, and they dominate the headlines. They dominate the attention. They dominate the names most Googled on this planet. Whereas really, it's your guy from Scunthorpe who's been through a lot, who you want to talk to and take inspiration from. It's Rose, who's got awesome stories about her life. That's a real role model, and the way she's lived it, and the stories she's told, and the relationships she's had with people. They're the male role models we need.
There's certainly a lot to be said about that, and just, again, being willing to talk as well.
Yeah.
If someone is struggling, it's very easy to isolate yourself. It's a very common male trait, isn't it? To lock yourself away. Saw a mad stat the other day, which is women have the highest rates of depression, anxiety, other psychological issues, but men still have the highest rates of suicide and self-harm. By almost 4 times that of women.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's nuts.
Yeah, look, it's in today's world, we can't stress enough the importance of talking. We spoke about it a lot on the podcast. This is the Fit Dads podcast, right? This is a podcast for dads who are standing together and want to be the best versions of themselves and being the best version of yourself. For some males right now, listen to this or not listen to this, unfortunately, from where their headspace is at, is just reaching out and talking. So if you are in that category where you are just trying to get one day and 1 foot ahead, and that's where your headspace is at, reach out to me, reach out to Brad. We'll maybe put some things in the show notes about places you can go to seek some help. Samaritans is a fantastic one. I know so many of my friends at certain stages in life have had to reach out to Samaritans, but the worst thing you can do is not be the best version of yourself for your family, for your kids, and ultimately not fucking be here. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the worst case scenario, because that, one thing I will say is that doesn't end with you. It gets passed on for generations. So the best thing you can do if you are really struggling, for your kids, for everyone around you, is talk, seek help, get through it with the help of other people, not by yourself. So reach out, please.
Well said. There's just parting words from me, I suppose. I love a good comeback story. I've spoken about him a decent amount on this podcast. A guy called Dan Reynolds, who's lead singer of Imagine Dragons. One of the latest albums, there's a track that starts with, and Dan's had a lot of psychological issues, but he starts it off by saying, "I'm back from the dead from the back of my head." And it always gets me thinking that. 'Cause it's a bit like, yeah, I realised I was pretty screwed and I reached out for help and
Come back.
I'm back now. But the issue was back of his head.
Yeah. You can get lost there at the back of your head
100%,
sometimes.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, bit of a somber ending to today's episode,
Yes.
but again, reach out. We're here if you need us, and fit dads together. Guys, thank you for joining us as always. We'll see you next one.
See you soon.
My man.
Cheers,
Appreciate
man.
that.